Here we go again. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games update show. I am Sean Woodland with Tommy Marquez and Pat Sherwood. The Open is here yet again. I can't believe that we are already here. It just seems like we just got done in Carson.
It's just so great to be back at the desk with you fine gentlemen competing in the worldwide fitness competition. I mean, what more could I ask for? It's here.
I mean, last year we saw a completely new top 10 at the Games, and that all started in the Open. So if we have half the turnover that we saw last year, it's going to be another sensational year.
A lot of great stories on both the men's and women's side that we're going to be following throughout the season. Let's set the stage for the women's side of the competition. And when you look at the women's race in the past, it's been all about these big names that have been coming back and the names that everyone knows who are going to be competing for a spot on the podium. This year, though, a little different. We have young up-and-coming stars who made a name for themselves and some vets now who are trying to hang on to their spots.
And why does it feel like the women's field, so deep, so talented, but why does it feel like we can just distill it down to, well, who's going to win next year? Is it going to be Katrin or Sarah?
Yeah. You know, it's funny because from a traditional sports sense...
Sounds wrong to say.
Yeah, from a traditional sports sense, yes, because Katrin is the queen, and until someone else wears the crown, that's how it's going to be. And Sarah was clearly the person nipping at her heels and even in front of her for most of the competition. But really, you look at the things that had to happen for things to play out the way that they did. Sam battled an injury all year. Cara Webb had a heat injury at the Games. Annie had a heat injury at the Games. Julie Fouché, who looked like she was gunning for the top of the podium, had an Achilles injury. So all of those things had to happen for that to play out. So I think just to boil it down to those two would be a huge mistake because there's some excellent athletes waiting in the wings.
And one of those athletes is a woman who was on the podium, and we still forget about it because we're still shocked over the fact that Tia-Clair Toomey finished second out of nowhere. She deserves to be in this conversation, doesn't she?
Without a doubt. She's still even kind of prepping for the show. I didn't get more clarity. I got almost a little more confusion. She's incredibly talented. She's incredibly young as well. I mean, she was just 22 years old. She has a bright future ahead of her, but average finish at the Games was 11th, which is fantastic, but you've got everything from captain the soccer chipper to 27th on Murph to being a weightlifter. You think she would excel some things, but 15th on the clean and jerk, 31st on heavy DT. So it was kind of all over the map. Former hurdler, she made a lot of money in the sprint course. So she's raw, she's talented, but I almost don't know what to expect from her in the future.
And it's funny because I think the reason why she flew under our radar and she made a fool of us for not covering her more is the same reason that why she's so dangerous. She has this poise, this calm, cool collectedness, well beyond her years. She's only 22 years old. And I think that comes from her experience competing at such a huge stage. She was at the Invitational and she looked impressive. She did great at the Games, obviously. She competed at IWF Worlds as a weightlifter, the biggest stage you can compete at besides the Olympics for a weightlifter. That's huge. And you look at how she finished those last 8 events at the Games, 6 of them were 6th or better, nothing outside the top 15. Just even keel, steady, looked like a vet, didn't draw a lot of attention, which is why we didn't give her that much attention to begin with. So I think she's definitely dangerous. And the fact that we're having a hard time coming up with stuff about her is just another reason why to be scared of her.
There are those rookie nerves at the Games, because you are right, at the Invitational, she looked legit.
She did. I think that was where she impressed me, maybe even more so in the Games. I mean, she looked like she had some things, really dialed in
there.
And absolutely proved that she does belong on that stage. And she's part of this, amazing sophomore class that we have that, 2 of them on this graphic were on the podium last year. And then we have Maddie Myers, who has shown marked improvement this offseason. Looks like she's ready to make some noise. Are we seeing a changing of the guard now on the women's side?
There's so much young talent coming up that, the old names that were always there, I mean, they've got their work cut out for them, potentially so. I'm not ready to say that yet, but I'll say these girls are absolutely legit. Toomey we just covered as to why, but then Sarah Sigmund's daughter, I mean, I can't describe her as like a human being. She's more like a storm that just kind of comes in and ravages a town. I think she's unpolished and already so capable that if she's under the tutelage of a good coach and they polish out some of those rough edges, she's going to be really somebody to deal with. And then Brooke Entz, I mean, come on. She's a weapon, but I almost see Brooke as, how to say this, like Josh Bridges-esque. So, for example, I look at the Games. She was first on the snatch speed ladder, first on the clean and jerk, but then she's got 3 finishes in the 20s, 2 in the 30s, so kind of all over the map. She needs to smooth out a bit. And then Brooke Wells, I mean, wins her region against Tovar, Akinwale, Holcomb, Barber, and then does, we just saw her do 30 clean and jerks at 155 and 318. She's another one that's raw and unpolished, but unlimited potential, and those are the young girls coming up, so the tide could be changing.
On the veteran side, though, you still have a list of women who aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Cara Webb, Sam Briggs, Camila Blanc-Bazinet, Annie Thorisdottir. I mean, you got 3 former champs on that list, and all these women have been to the games 3+ times. It's going to be tough to get these women to go anywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at Cara Webb, even after talking about self-imploding on Murph, she still had her best finish at the games ever.
Yeah.
She was still 5th.
That's
she was
impressive.
A half second away from making it to the next round in the snatch speed ladder, which opens up a whole new possibility of points and placement improvements for that. And she could easily be on the podium.
She could barely stand.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at Sam Briggs, if you came to me and you said, hey, there's going to be an athlete within the 7-month season window that's going to have a serious back injury, going to break her foot, she's going to have months of adjusted training and spend the entire year operating at less than full capacity, I'd be like, oh, how'd she do at regionals? She must have taken maybe top 10. I'd be like, no, she's 4th in the world. That is unbelievable. And everything from her says that she's healthy this year. She's 100% a threat to win again, on top of the girl that's following her on this list, CLB. She had an off year last year. A few things didn't go her way, but if she shores up her mental game, she has the tools to win. And right behind her as well, Annie Thorisdottir. It feels like she's been around forever.
Yeah.
She's the youngest of this group. She's only 26.
Wow.
Only 26.
Over the hill.
She's got tons and tons of years of competing ahead of her. She's very much like Sarah Sigmund's daughter was a few years back. When Annie came on the scene, was this storm, a little bit unpolished. I just think another year readjusting her sights on how she can be at the top, and she'll be just fine.
You mentioned Sam Briggs, and that she is extremely intriguing to me because of all the reasons you mentioned. And she wins the liftoff last year. She's healthy. Can she win the games again?
You just gave us a sneak peek. Go ahead. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think so. It's funny. I always wish there was this way that we could just quantify just raw grit and capacity, just like blinding capacity where nothing else matters. You open up the throttle full bore, because I think Sam Briggs would be superhuman. She would beat anyone in the world, male, female, doesn't matter. And I think she has that above everyone else, and there's this aura about her where when she walks onto the floor, you notice. And I think that's the kind of aura you look at someone who has a championship pedigree. She's already won it before, and if she's healthy, yes, 100%.
She's a weapon, but she's still a little bit of a wild weapon, more of a shotgun than the sniper rifle.
Yeah.
I mean, and she's battling the same things that she's just battled for a while, and she's putting in the work, but so is all the other women out there. So last year at the games, Sam had, 2 first-place finishes and 2 second-place finishes. Incredible. Conversely, also took 35th when the snatching came out, and 31st on the clean and jerk. So it just can't be, with how good the competition is, you can't be that lopsided. So she just needs to get those numbers up, which is a constant battle for her.
There are some other women out there that we're going to be paying attention to in the 2016 Open and beyond. Pat, who's on your radar as we kick this thing off here pretty soon?
I mean, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon a little late here.
Maybe 8 years too late.
Oh, come on, it's been 8 years. And kind of the cat out of the bag. Becca Voigt. I mean, I don't care if you're a fan, if you're middle of the road, if for some odd reason you're not a fan. Who doesn't want to see somebody set yet another record? She wants to be the only person to have attended the CrossFit Games 9 times. She's holding the record right now at 8, and she might be the only one with that. There's only going to have been 10 so far, so if she makes this, she'll have competed 90% of them.
Right. How about you, Tommy?
For me, it's an up-and-comer. I love looking up the dark horses, and it's a female athlete that we actually mentioned briefly last year. Her name's Tasia Persevich. This is a girl who has been on fire this year in the off-season. She's only 3 years into CrossFit. Her first year into CrossFit, she just missed regionals by 4 spots. 2 years into CrossFit, she qualifies for regionals, takes 12th at this new kind of combined regional format. Now coming into this year, you look at some of the 3 major off-season competitions. She's been in the top 6 in all of them. She's a former gymnast. She's finally starting to dial in her nutrition, and all those other things. When I talked to her, she said that last year's competing at regionals was a huge eye-opening experience about how she needs to be as an athlete. So I think she's going to be one that, she's going to be coming from a very difficult East region, but she's going to be a person we're going to be talking about in the future.
All right, well, the season, it starts soon, and
we
we'll
are.
be back next time to talk about the men's side of the house. Some great stories over there. For Tommy Marquez and Pat Sherwood, I'm Sean Woodland. We'll see you guys soon.